You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. Before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest, and I will give him a proper introduction in a little bit. David Childers, Keeping Current Matters. Welcome.
Thanks, Ron. I'm excited to be with you today, and I love the idea of connecting the dots. We'll talk about that.
Absolutely. Let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money. I personally work with you even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. I don't know about this one. National Drink Beer Day.
It is what it is.
I'm not much of a beer drinker. Maybe a wine, good wine, vodka, beer. I don't know. And having beaten anorexia, today is Strawberry Cream Pie Day. And yes, we did get the whipped cream on top of the strawberry cream pie. Thank you, guys. A standing joke on Ron Siegel Radio. Women's Health and Fitness Day. If I said anything beyond that, I would only get in trouble, so I will not. Good Neighbor Day. That used to be a pharmacy. I don't know if there's still a pharmacy or not. The Good Neighbor Pharmacy, long time ago. The Rocky Market. I'm assuming the stock market today. Dow Jones Industrial up 256 points. The S&P 500 is up 49. NASDAQ is up 140 points. Oil up $2.85 per barrel. $2.85 a barrel. What's going on in oil? Well, I don't know about oil, but I can certainly tell you gasoline right here in the formerly Golden State, $6.04 per gallon of gasoline on average. I don't know about this stuff. It's crazy. And Josh, you're at 522 right now. Jody's at 423. Our tremendous underwriter, Lori, she's at $3.11 a gallon. And we're sitting, well, I don't even want to get in this conversation, David. You guys are at $3.34 a gallon of gasoline there in Virginia. You're probably just sitting there laughing at us here in California at $6.04, $2.20 some above the national average. National average, $3.76 a gallon. I might just have to go to Hawaii and get gas, right? I mean, $5.24 a gallon over in Hawaii. Unbelievable. Why is all of this happening? It's just crazy. Well, the Federal Reserve says that they're going to crash everything. And I've shared with you before that they really have very little clue as to what's going on. Why? Well, take a look at the resumes of all of the folks on the Federal Reserve. I think there's only two of them that have ever worked outside of either the Federal Reserve or academia. Think about that. How do they know what's going on in the real world when they're working in academia? We know what they're doing to people with prices. They just raise them all the time. Or they work for the Federal Reserve. We know what they're doing. Maybe they could do a little, maybe they can get a history person in there. I mean, I know getting a business person would not be something that the Federal Reserve would do. But maybe if they get a history person, one that might be able to look at what maybe Paul Volcker did, right? Volcker looked at maybe what they're doing right now in the European Union, right? They're starting to put more money into their economies because they're starting to see what the increase in rates have done and the increase in interest has done to the market. Think about this. Just in the month of September alone, the mortgage-backed security or the mortgage-backed securities have moved 400 basis points, or the mortgages, 400 basis points in interest. Think about that. We don't usually see a 400 basis point move in a year, yet we've seen it in the month of September. We're going to share with you, as we do every day at this time, what we'll talk about what rates actually locked at yesterday, not what they want you to know, what the news is telling you. We're going to tell you the real numbers of what rates actually locked at yesterday. I think you might be a little bit surprised. I'm just going to throw that out there for you, but we do that every day. So I'm going to give you that information, but I want to share with you. First off, I'm going to give you our Your Credit Matters segment brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. What's in my FICO scores? FICO scores calculated using many different pieces of credit data in your credit report. This data is grouped into 5 categories. Payment history is 35%. Amounts owed 30%. Length of credit history 15%. New credit 10%. Credit mix is 10%. Your FICO scores consider both positive and negative information in your credit report. The percentages in the chart that we share on a regular basis reflect how important each of these categories is in determining how your FICO scores are calculated. The importance of these categories may vary from one person to another. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The importance of credit categories varies by person. Your FICO scores are unique, just like you. They're calculated based on the 5 categories, as I mentioned. But for some people, the importance of these categories can be different. For example, scores for people who have not been using credit long will be calculated differently than those with a longer credit history. In addition, as the information in your credit report changes, so does the evaluation of these factors in determining your FICO scores. Your credit report and FICO scores evolve frequently. Because of this, it's not possible to measure the exact impact of a single factor in how your FICO score is calculated without looking at your entire report. Even the levels of importance shown in the FICO scores chart are for general population and may be different for different credit profiles. Your FICO score is calculated only from the information in your credit report. However, lenders may look at different things when making your credit decisions, such as your income, how long you've worked at your current job, and the kind of credit you are requesting. The first thing any lender wants to know is whether you've paid past credit accounts on time. This helps a lender figure out the amount of risk it will take on when extending credit. This is the most important factor in your FICO score, payment history, 35%. The amount you owe, 30%. Having great credit accounts and owing money on them does not necessarily mean you are a high-risk borrower with a low FICO score. However, if you are using a lot of your available credit, this may indicate that you are overextended, and banks can interpret this to mean that you are at a higher risk of defaulting. Length of credit history is 15%. In general, having a longer credit history is positive for your FICO score, but is not required for a good credit score. Your FICO scores take into account how long your credit accounts have been established, including the age of your oldest account, the age of your newest account, and an average of all of your accounts. How long specific credit accounts have been established, how long it has been since you used certain accounts. Credit mix is 10%. FICO scores will consider your mix of credit cards, retail accounts, installment loans, finance company accounts, and mortgage loans. Don't worry, not necessary to have one of each. New credit is 10%. This is the one everybody worries about the most, right? How many? I don't want an inquiry. It's going to count for 10% of your score. Research shows that opening several credit accounts in a short amount of time represents a greater risk, especially for people who don't have a long history. Think about this. Your mortgage FICO score ranges from 350 to 850. That's about 500 points, or 300 to 850, 500 points. The inquiries are 10%. That means it's about 50 points. If you go from 850 to 800, you're still going to get a very, very good credit evaluation. Great information is always right there. MyFICO.com is where we get a lot of this data from. And you know what? When you look at MyFICO.com, and I don't get paid from them, MyFICO.com, the name tells you they are FICO, Fair Isaac Corporation. That's the Your Credit Matters segment. Again, brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. When we come back, we have a great guest lined up today. If you listen to Ron Siegel Radio on a regular basis, as you know, right around the 10th of every month, we have a full broadcast dedicated to the millennial and the old man, where we talk about the monthly market report. That, as you know, comes from Keeping Current Matters. If you listen to Ron Siegel Radio on a regular basis, you know our real-time real estate. We're always giving you the latest and greatest data on real estate. That comes from Keeping Current Matters, one of our great data sources. Well, we've got the man himself. David Childers is with us today, and we're going to talk directly with David about what's the inflection point happening in real estate right now? What's happening with home prices? What's coming next year? And is the market going to crash? All that and more. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, shame on you. But the replay is available. Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you could retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less, all without having to spend more each month than you spend right now? Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis, rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
Are you paying rent because you cannot afford to live in your dream home? Are you paying rent because you don't believe you have the down payment funds to purchase your own home? At Siegel Lending Team at ronismylender.com has up to $25,000 to help qualified people purchase their own home at amazing interest rates. Contact the Siegel Lending Team today at ronismylender.com. Again, ronismylender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037. ronismylender.com.
Homeowners over the age of 62 are taking back financial control after retirement with reverse mortgages, and the Siegel Lending Team is here to help you use it to your advantage. Call Ron Siegel with Geneva Financial to receive your free information booklet with no obligation. The booklet answers all your questions, and the best part is, you still own your home. Call Ron Siegel at 1-800-306-1990 or visit ronsiegelradio.com.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey, and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. ronismylender.com. Again, ronismylender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The S&P 500 now up 56.68. We're looking at the 10-year Treasury. That's been all over the place. We're looking at that one right now, down 20 basis points. Sorry, seniors, that's not good for you, but that helps the mortgage bonds. Mortgage-backed securities are up 66 basis points. Massive move. And we're going to also tell you that OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. 30-year conforming loans yesterday locked at 6.785. The jumbo loans locked at 6.269. FHA loans locked at 6.481. USDA loans for those in the rural areas, 6.39. And the best loan on the market for those that earned it, the VA loan, 30 years, 6.462. That's where the rates actually locked at yesterday. And again, OBMMI has that 35% market share. Well, it could help be on the way for mortgages. It's been a tough month of September. But maybe, just maybe, we might have found a bottom after a capitulation-like move on Monday and seen a two-day rally so far. Haven't seen that in quite some time. The 10-year, after testing 4%, is now down back below that, 3.82 as of the time we wrote the report. 1-year Treasury, which is a risk-free investment, is now just over 4%, which is pretty attractive 1-year return. After the Fed rate hikes 75 basis points in November, this could be closer to 4.5%, which is something to consider. The UK has seen their pound drop significantly, and 10-year bond gilt rise to the highest yield in 15 years. Causing this was an announced new mini budget, which includes unfunded tax cuts, which has drawn sharp criticism from the IMF and Moody's, which has threatened to reduce their credit rating. As a result, there's been a sharp sell-off in their longer-dated bonds. Prior to this news, they were planning on selling 10-year gilts and continue hiking rates as they are well behind on the curbing inflation. Now they're going to try to restore market functioning. A lot of love that. And carry out a temporary purchases of long-dated UK government bonds starting today. The purchases will be carried out on whatever scale is necessary to affect the outcome. So a lot of that is what's driving the market right now. We'll get more of that information to you as it comes into us. Pending home sales, though, they did come out and measure signed contracts on existing home sales, fell 2% in August, which was in line with expectations. Sales are now down 24% year over year. The National Association of Realtors chief economist Lawrence Yun sees mortgage rates rising to near 7%, but when inflation comes down, mortgage rates will begin to improve, as we've been saying. Believe it's possible, as we went over earlier in the week, that I think that come November, when we receive the October inflation data, that's going to be the first time that we're going to see a benefit in inflation numbers. That is the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make a call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. As I mentioned in the last segment, David Childers is with us from Keeping Current Matters. And boy, what an appropriate name for a company, especially when you get into tumultuous times like we're in right now. And we've had some of our friends from Keeping Current Matters on the broadcast with us before. But boy, David, it could not be more important time in this market than right now, having someone like yourself on with us. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be on. And no doubt we're seeing some changes in the world economically, but certainly in real estate, which is what we cover, at Keeping Current Matters. So glad to be on, Ron. Excited to talk to you today.
So give me an idea. We're going up, we're going down. This market requires lots of wine, lots of Xanax. It's going crazy. What is the inflection point happening in real estate right now as you see it?
Yeah, I think that is a great, kind of term for it. And to put that into perspective, here's what I would say. We've come out of 2+ years where we've been in COVID and now kind of coming out of that. And COVID really, affected the housing market in a dramatic way. We all know that now looking in the rearview mirror, but, COVID came along and at first, a lot of folks were saying, hey, this is going to be trouble for the housing market. And it turned out to be one of the, the most growth markets we've seen in this country in residential real estate. And really, here's what I would say is during the last couple of years, the meaning of home changed for many people. Became where we, worked. It became where we educated our kids. Maybe they went to school there for a while. Hopefully they're not now. It became so many different things. And by the way, interest rates dropped to call it 2.75%. And folks said, we're going to buy a home and we're going to do it. Now is the time. We saw people rush in this frenzy into the market. And that's what's defined the last couple of years. And that frenzy brought about, demand that went through the roof, and then that impacted the number of homes on the market, right? What was the biggest issue the last couple of years for somebody trying to buy a home is either we can't, buy it because we're losing out on bidding wars, or there's just not the home that we're looking for because there aren't enough homes on the market. And that's been the last couple of years. So what have we seen this year? We started this year at about 3% on the average 30-year fix. You just talked about it, Ron. Knocking on the door of 7% right now. This has been an extremely fast rise in interest rates that's added, by the way, for the average home in this country, about $1,000 to the mortgage payment. Now, Ron, where you're at, and then across Southern California, high cost markets, that's a multiple of that, right? That's 3 or 4x on that on average. And it's real money. So if I were kind of looking at this, you saw demand spike during COVID, and now demand's drop because of interest rates. You saw, the number of homes on the market be at a deficit during COVID. And now what are we seeing? There are more homes on the market because they're not selling as fast. And that's the inflection point that we see in real estate right now. And that affects everything. That affects prices. That affects people that are buying. That affects people that are selling. And we're clearly seeing that in all the information that's coming out right now.
That's some great information right there. I mean, because it is a crazy market. When we come back, I want to chat with you about home prices. I actually did a radio broadcast about, a week or two ago. And it was basically, I titled it Economics 101, Supply and Demand.
Sure.
When we come back, I want to chat with you a little bit about what's happening with home prices. I hear places talk about a bubble. They're going to crash. We're going to see 2008 all over again.
Yeah.
I don't believe that as much, but something, you're the data expert and I want to get your opinion on it. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. More with David Childers when we come back. Hey, if you're in the real estate world like I am, you better go. I can't believe how anybody could not have a subscription to Keeping Current Matters. I've been saying this probably for 10 years now, maybe more. Go to trykcm.com, trykcm.com. Take a look at what they have to offer. You got to be informed. As a real estate professional, you are dealing with somebody's largest asset and largest liability for probably 99% of America. Keep informed. trykcm.com. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you a renter and tired of making monthly payments? Paying off someone else's mortgage? Hey, it's Ron Siegel here to help you stop renting and start owning your dream home with amazing low interest rates. And you could potentially qualify for a $500,000 home for less than $5,000 out of pocket. So stop renting. Start owning with Ron Siegel. Learn more at ronsiegelradio.com and start owning today. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you can retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less, all without having to spend more each month than you spend right now? Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis. rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel.
Welcome back
now,
to Ron
here's
Siegel
Ron.
Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. One of the greatest tools out there, in my opinion, I can't give anybody else's opinion, I only have my own, is rsrhomescout.com. Go to the fourth tab over. It'll tell you what the value is for different valuation models just for your specific address. If you're looking to shop around America for a house, 97% of the properties in America are listed on rsrhomescout.com, and you can get it updates as often as you want. Go there, take advantage of it. We're going to continue our conversation this morning. David Childers is with us, Keeping Current Matters. Generally, in the real-time real estate segment, I take a look at something, a current event of what's really going on right now in real estate, and we quite frequently will reference somebody what other sources are having to say. Well, I get that data for the most part, not always, but probably 90% of the time, comes from our friends at Keeping Current Matters. And David Childers is with us this morning from Keeping Current Matters. So I am not going to go over the report. I'm going to throw it to David and say, hey, David, what's happening with home prices? Up, down, where are they going?
It's a great question, Ron. And I think there are a lot of people asking that question too. Not only, folks that own homes or looking to buy homes, but experts are asking that question too. Let me be very, very clear about that. So let's talk about what influences home prices first, and then I'll tell you what experts are saying. First, supply and demand are always going to dictate home prices. So you think
surprise. We've talked about that many times. So say Economics 101.
Well, even if you're selling bicycles in your neighborhood garage sale, supply and demand will dictate the price no matter what you're selling. So I'd look around in my neighborhood and say, how many homes are on the market? How many people are trying to buy those right now? And that's ultimately going to determine price. So what are we seeing? We're seeing supply of the number of homes in this country rise. over the last couple of years, and we're seeing demand fall for that. Now, we're still in what we would say in the real estate market in a seller's market that is below 6 months of inventory. And so we still see upward pressure on prices. Now, here's where it gets interesting, Ron. If you look at expert forecasts for this year, the average of those that we follow at Keeping Current Matters is just over 11% appreciation annually in residential real estate. And that's typically how appreciation is measured in this country. You don't think, how much value did my home gain last month? Maybe over the last couple of years we thought that,
Right.
because homes were appreciating at such a quick rate. But generally it's annually. But there also is a month-over-month look. Why is that interesting right now? We're looking at annual appreciation of about 11%, but we're starting to see some markets where month-over-month we're seeing depreciation. Now, there are a couple things there that you want to start to look at. Certainly, this frenzy that's happened in real estate over the last couple of years has caused some overheated markets. But I'll tell you, we're going to talk about crash, but very, very minimal depreciation. And that's typically measured at the median home price level. So you think about median, not the average, just the median price of homes in this country. And what do we know as well is the bottom end of the market's moving a lot faster than the top end of the market because of the added cost to go out and finance a home. And the more expensive home that you buy, the more cost there is associated with it as interest rates have risen. So right now prices, we see those being in a place where we're starting to see some slight depreciation, not widespread depreciation in some markets. Now, we're going to talk in a minute about what's ahead, but I will say this. I don't see anybody calling for national home price depreciation. Some smaller pockets in depreciation. And oh, by the way, if your home appreciated 20% in the last year, which is the national average, and you did see 1%, 2%, or 3% depreciation that price, you're going to be okay. And so I think this price conversation, is critically important to understand. And two things that I think everybody thinking about buying a home right now, you need to ask yourself two questions. Do I think prices are going to go up or down? And do I think interest rates are going to go up and down? And I think it's still a market that is favorable to buy in, and I can explain that. But that's really what we're seeing right now in prices.
So I like to look at two different sources. I'll get your opinion on this. I shouldn't say that. I prefer one source on when I'm looking at for the forecast, just because, for the last few years, we've had some outliers, right? CoreLogic has not been very good at forecasting real estate values. Great at looking backwards. Going forward, they haven't been great. One of my favorites recently, I'm kind of questioning, is Zelman and Associates.
Sure.
But my favorite, I think, because I've learned, I learned it from Keeping Current Matters 100 years ago, was Home Price Expectation Survey.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you explain why that one's like, why I might feel that's a gold standard?
So let me talk about two, because you mentioned Ivy Zelman, and I'll talk about Home Price Expectation Survey. So Ivy Zelman is a noted economist and predominantly with builders in this country. She's called for depreciation in the coming year. She also called for depreciation this year. So has not gotten that right in relative to her calls. Now, you mentioned the Home Price Expectation Survey. That comes out every quarter, and that's a survey of 100 top economists in the financial markets, in the real estate markets, and everything pertaining to housing. And they sort of pull together what are they projecting. And I will tell you, the Home Price Expectation Survey calling for appreciation this year and appreciation going into next. And I agree with you. It's a much wider look at home prices. And oh, by the way, they go 5 years out, and they're projecting home price appreciation for the next 5 years. Now, the why behind that's very interesting. But I agree with you, Ron. I think it's a very, very accurate look at home prices.
And I don't know this to be fact. I do know one of the members of that Home Price Expectation Survey is something very near and dear to me. Chapman University has been a participant in that. I would venture to guess, just knowing the reputation, is Ivy Zellman is probably mixed in with that home price expectation survey, and I would think CoreLogic is also.
Sure.
Great tool. And if you want to just look at, you can look at one place that of all of them. And David, maybe you can speak to this also. When we look at the different ones that we talk about, and the Mortgage Bankers Association, National Association of Realtors, Fannie, Freddie, almost all of those have a vested interest in real estate. Now, they maybe do great work, but they've got a vested interest.
Yeah.
Home price expectation survey is taking so many people. They really, I don't think a bias fits into that. What do you think?
No, I certainly think there's when the home price expectation survey comes out, they start to look at things by who are the optimists, who are the middle of the road, who are the pessimists, and they give you that kind of look at it. I do think there are people in our business that have two things. One, they have a vested interest, but they also have the best access to data. You talk about Fannie and Freddie, they can tell what's happening in real time, and they've been fairly accurate in their forecast. And so, I think it's a double-edged sword. What we like to do at Keeping Current Matters is look at everyone. And when I give you a number like 11% price appreciation in residential real estate, that's taking in Fannie, Freddie, NAR, Ivy Zellman, the Mortgage Bankers Association, CoreLogic, the Home Price Expectation Survey. I like to look at it all and say, okay, what is the consensus here? Where do I see people saying the same thing? Where do I see an outlier? You mentioned CoreLogic. There were many months in the last couple of years that we just kind of scratched our head with what CoreLogic was saying. But I like to look at them all together.
Great information. I love that idea. I want to talk to you when we come back, David. Is 11% too hot? What's coming next year? We're going to talk about that as well. And as I mentioned going out of the last segment, I'm a big, firm believer, and not that I get paid for saying this. If you are involved in the real estate industry, if you're a real estate agent, a lender, a title officer, an escrow officer that's out there trying to educate the marketplace, you have to have a membership, a subscription to Keeping Current Matters. Try KCM.com. Try KCM.com. I think it's one of the, especially for the money. I mean, they charge you next to nothing for great information. And if you're involved in social media at all, share it. They even tell you how to do it with your own branding on it, for God's sake. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial market. More with David Childers. What's coming next year? We're going to talk about it. Is the market going to crash? We'll talk about that as well. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you could retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less, all without having to spend more each month than you spend right now? Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis, rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694552.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Borrow Smart segment brought to you by the National Institute on Financial Education. Gotta be educated right now. They're not teaching it in the schools. Gotta love our friends over there at the National Institute on Financial Education. Continuing our conversation this morning, David Childers is with us. Keeping Current Matters. If you have missed the last couple segments, we talked about the inflection point happening in real estate, what's happening with home prices. If you missed it, sorry. But we will have the replay posted for you. But David, I want to chat with you two different thoughts right here. In the last segment, we talked about forecasts being 11% appreciation for the next year.
No. That's for this year.
Oh, for this
calendar year. I'm
okay,
sorry if I misspoke there.
Is that too hot
for this year?
Yeah. Do you think is that sustainable? Is it?
No, I don't think that's sustainable at all. Now, 11% this year in home price appreciation. What we need to be honest about is most of that happened in the first half of this year. Okay. So we're coming off of a couple of years where we saw around 20% home price appreciation in this country, and we're in what's called a decelerating market. We're seeing less price appreciation each month we go down the road, and that's measured on a year-over-year basis. Now, if you want to talk about next year, I've got the same forecast, and I'm sure you've seen these as well, Ron. The best case that I see right now for home price appreciation next year is about 2%. And that's even factoring in what we talked about, Ivy Zelman's forecast of depreciation. So what you see among experts is very, very little appreciation heading into next year, coming off these two banner years coming out of COVID.
Okay, so even at 2, I mean, when you talk about that, just think about that concept. We have 20% and then 18%, and then if those numbers are right, 11%, and then you get 2%.
Yeah.
And you start saying, holy cow, if you as an investor, if you can book that or say, okay, I want those 4 years, every 4 years.
Right.
You'd be pretty happy about that.
Right.
So 2% is really, I think if I know in the stock market and in a lot of other financial markets, you kind of say you're just rebuilding the base a little bit.
Yeah. And you could even call that anemic growth. Like that's next to nothing. Here's the bigger issue, Ron. I think there's two things I would point out. One, as consumers, as investors, anybody in real estate, we've gotten really used to the last couple of years, right? In tremendous home price appreciation.
We've been spoiled.
I would remind people of the average appreciation in this country in residential real estate prior to the last couple of years, because they throw off the averages, was 3.8%. So I think, we have to put this into perspective. And if we're honest with ourselves, even in this business, that price appreciation has been out of control for the last couple of years. Now we're coming off of that, but the bigger question that I like to ask, and you mentioned the home price expectation survey earlier, is why are they calling for price appreciation? And the answer is, I don't want to say it's simple, but it's understandable. And they're calling for this price appreciation growth for the next 5 years because of two reasons. One, and you can read articles on this, is the undersupply of homes in this country. Depending on what article you read and what people say, anywhere from 3, 4, 5 million homes undersupplied. We don't have enough homes for the number of people that want to buy them, and there's a reason for that. And the reason really comes out of the 2008 crisis, where builders were clobbered and got out of the business. They just haven't built the homes that have been needed. The second reason, so that's the supply side. We'll talk about supply and demand. Continue that topic. What do we have right now? We have the largest demographic in history, behind the baby boomers, moving through their peak home buying years. Peak home buying years in this country are 22 to 34, and you have a very large contingent of millennials in that category. I'll give you a couple of statistics. Last year, 81% of first-time home buyers were millennials. Shocking.
Wow.
43% of all buyers were millennials. So we have this tremendous generation moving through wanting to buy, wanting to own a home, getting married, having kids, all those things, the life events that drive home ownership. And you have a situation where there aren't enough homes. That's what keeps upward pressure on prices.
Pretty amazing. We reported, I think it was last week, that I think there's 1.7 million household formations every year right now. And we're building about 1.2 million properties. Yeah. And so we've got a big deficit.
This year, Ron, we haven't been doing that for the last 14 years, right? We're going to hit a peak this year. Yeah.
Now, the other thing that we report, David, is right in line with what you said is we're in Southern California. I broadcast from Orange County. And I think you said we're spoiled here. Yeah. So national average, you said 3.8% appreciation. And I just looked from our friends at MBS Highway, and 63-year average for Orange County, California is 5.39% over the last 63 years. If you average that out. So it's pretty staggering numbers.
Listen to this. You think about, I just got this in from FHFA. If you go back to 1991, so 30 years ago, on average, a home appreciated 290% in this country. California, 319% on average. So sometimes we get caught up, and I'm not trying to minimize the month over month sort of tumultuous market that we're in, but home ownership wins. If there's anything the pandemic taught us or 2008 taught us, is that buying a home is the number one way that people, build wealth in this country. That is a fact, but it's the only investment you can live in. So I'm bullish on home ownership, and we're in a very volatile market. I'm not trying to say we aren't in some choppy seas ahead, but home ownership over the long term absolutely wins.
So you gave me a perfect segue there, David. When we come back, you said about a choppy market. Are we going to see a crash? A lot of the millennials, when I do our millennial and old man show, the millennials only know one recession.
Sure.
So we're heading into a choppy market, as you said. Are we going to see that crash of 2007, 8, 9? Having a great conversation about today's real estate market. And I think all of us have watched whatever's going on in the markets right now. If you've been thinking about buying or selling a house, it's a choppy market. It's not for the faint of heart. But one thing that does give you a little solace, a little peace, at least in my world, is knowledge. Yep. And we get some great knowledge from David Childers and the team at Keeping Current Matters. And we've got David with us today the whole hour. So David, we've talked about a choppy market, or you mentioned that, and I shared with you that I do this old man and millennial show.
Right.
And the millennials only know one recession.
Sure.
That's all they remember. And they think that means real estate's going to crash. What do you say?
Well, first of all, I would say that's not just millennials. I think everybody in this country that's not in real estate looks at the last couple of years and says it feels a lot like the time leading up to the housing crash. And if we're honest with ourselves in this business, we should say that as well. It feels a lot like that. Now, there are some very, very stark differences. I don't see a crash. Let me be clear about that. First one that we know, you have to qualify for a home loan today. You didn't back in the housing crisis. We joke and say it was almost harder not to get a loan than to get a loan back then. So you have to qualify. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the balance sheet of the American homeowner is stronger, just about an all-time high. Let me give you a couple of numbers. These came out last week, Ron, from First American. It's shocking. There's $41 trillion in owner-occupied real estate in this country. Okay, so $41 trillion. There's just over 12 trillion in mortgage debt. And I'm sure everybody remembers, maybe you saw the headline in the last year, we went over $10 trillion in mortgage debt and we're all in trouble. That was kind of the story. We've never been there before, never seen over $10 trillion of debt, 41 trillion in owner occupied real estate, 12 trillion in debt. That remaining 29 trillion puts the national LTV at 29.5%. There is a tremendous amount of equity in homes today. And I think it's a direct result of 2008, where people said, we're going to do something different. We're not going to go and refinance the house and buy a jet ski and go on vacation and think, you know what, this is never going to end. And we're seeing that right now. So I'm not saying there might not be depreciation in pockets, but not a crash, because nobody's walking away from the average equity in a home today of $320,000. Let me say that again. The average equity in a home today is $320,000. I mean, that's back in 08, people, the term was coined of strategic default. That was, hey, we owe more on the home than what it's worth, and we're walking. Nobody's going to walk today.
That's great information. I'm glad you brought that up. I just consulted with a family, over the weekend, just before the weekend, and they got a letter. They're having some financial difficulties. They're senior citizens, which kills me, having some financial challenges. David, they had about $400,000 in equity in their property. And the letter that they got from the big bank was, if you want a short sale, we can put you in touch with a realtor.
Yeah.
Short sale with $400,000 in equity.
Right.
I mean,
I don't see today, Ron, why someone on average, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, because it is. Foreclosures happen. I don't wish it upon anyone. But I think people today have options. They can put their home on the market. They can pay a commission and put a little bit of money in their pocket in the financial crisis they're facing, like the folks that you're talking about.
That's exactly it. And get rid of some of that debt and be able to sleep at night. That's kind of, there's a lot of options. And you're right. I think that the key word there is options.
And people didn't have options back in 08.
Right, because we were using our houses as an ATM, and we thought that we could move every 20 minutes and buy another jet ski and buy another boat and buy another car.
Right.
And that's not realistic.
Right.
And I just saw a story this morning, David, you might have seen this one as well, that it looks like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac might be actually getting a little tighter on their lending standards as well right now.
Well, what thing I can tell you for sure is lending standards got tighter during COVID. You remember, Ron, when jumbo products went away, you couldn't even get one for a few months. So I think you're absolutely right there. I think the national conversation, two things I think are going to happen in the future. I think we're going to have to say we need more credit availability for folks that want to buy homes. Credit standards for homes are very, very tight. And that's also caused, big point, a fall in the number of folks that are foreclosed on every year since 2011, because we have a better qualified borrower. Okay, so I think you're absolutely going to see that. And we need more homes on the market. We need to figure out how to bring more homes to market across the country. There's not a town in this country that says we have plenty of homes for first-time home buyers. It's not. There's not. We need more of that.
So I want to throw a curveball at you. Maybe I hope it's not a problem. I don't think it will be. One of the things that we saw, and I know we only have about a minute left, so we got to be quick on this one.
Okay.
Is we held off on. We had during COVID, we put a moratorium on the foreclosures and defaults and all that. Is that going to open up a big wave of more properties coming on the market?
No. I can give you the actual numbers on that. I mean, 4 out of 5 people that came out of forbearance came out whole, meaning they either went through a workout with their bank, or they paid off their loan, or they didn't need it. They took out forbearance saying, I don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. And it worked. Now, there are a small portion of people that are still in some sort of issue, but let's take what we just said. Those people today have options. I think we can look back on forbearance and say it worked. And we often don't say that with government programs, but that is the truth about forbearance right now.
Great information. I appreciate you checking in with us, David. I hope you won't be a stranger on Ron Siegel Radio.
Love it. I'll be back
with us. And as I said in each of our prior segments, if you're in the real estate industry, if you're an investor, if you're a financial advisor because your clients hold real estate, you need to get a subscription. It doesn't cost. It costs. I mean, I think most of us spend more at Starbucks than a subscription to Keeping Current Matters. Try KCM.com. Try KCM.com. And no, I don't get paid for saying that. I just really, really believe in the information that comes out. And I keep up the great work, you and the team, David. I really appreciate it.
Grateful for your support.
Thank you. And as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh, who's engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.
And I can be saved. Times that I try